Hello, my name is Simon Timperley, and
Hello, I'm Vladimir Surchinsky.
it's good to be with you today on this special webinar. Today, obviously, we're going to be talking about coronavirus, COVID-19 in the food industry. And just a couple of words before I hand you over to Vladimir. Obviously, it's a huge, it's the biggest thing I've ever seen, and many of us have seen in our lifetime. It's a crisis. It's a pandemic worldwide. We're all affected, and we've never known anything like it. And the ethos of the IFSQN is to provide support, a platform for people to network and get together and support each other. And at times like this, we can feel alone, not knowing which way to turn. And that's why we've put on this webinar. And throughout this crisis, we will be putting on other webinars on the subject, on subjects related to COVID-19, on questions that you perhaps want, so you can steer that. But welcome today. It's great to have you all along. And I'm just administering in the background, so I'll hand you over to Vladimir.
Okay, thank you, Simon. So actually, when we were thinking about this webinar and thinking about presenting to you, I was talking to Simon and said, I finished this health science university, and we studied about these pandemics, about different infective diseases and everything, and I was thinking, okay, but it is the question, it will ever happen to me, but actually it happened. It is happening right now. So actually, this is a good thing to see what we have learned and what we have learned to this day from the industry that we cooperate. As one who is doing the audits for different kind of industries, different food industries, it is really good to have all of this knowledge, how they implement and what steps they implemented. So today's practically webinar would be to communicate with all of you about these steps. This is the learnings that we have found till now, and actually it would be really useful that you communicate in the chat box and actually through all of these slides, just to have let's say knowledge sharing among different people, because on this IFSQN platform we have people from all over the world, and it is really good to have different knowledges in this case. So I will prepare the presentation and we can start immediately.
Okay.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about the influence of coronavirus COVID-19 on the food industry, and as it is explained by Simon and also by me in this introductory, actually we are expecting to have a lots of comments from your side on the chat box, just to comment about different let's say preventive programs that could be implemented in your company or food industry to prevent this disease and to have, let's say, some step of recovery later. So today we are going to talk about that. I will show you a lot of different strategies that are already, let's say, that are already implemented, but by some of the industries, and actually I will try to share some knowledge that we have collected till now with you. So many of you already know me. I'm Vladimir Surchinsky. I'm working as I don't know, on webinars with Simon and IFSQN from I think 2015, and actually till now we have been going through a lots of different stages, different topics. And I remember one of my first topic was the emergency preparedness and response, and we were talking about these crisis situations, and actually but this was a little bit interesting because we were talking about crisis situations that never happened. We were talking about simulation that you can do, but in this case this is a real deal, and in this case you really need to think about all the things. So I'm working currently for Quality Austria certification body as a food safety expert, also auditor and trainer for different kinds of food safety, food standards and GFSI standards. And because we were on the forum that Simon already set up for you regarding the topics of Corona. I saw that lots of you are mentioning the questions about auditing process, what will be regarding the certification, etc. So I put up only one slide where we can just a little bit discuss about the certification process, about auditing, remote audits, and etc. Okay, thank you all for joining. Practically, what is a current situation? So current situation is really clear that World Health Organization declared that COVID-19 is a pandemic. Well, actually, we learned at our university that these pandemics will not happen anymore because world is prepared. But you see, this was not very true, and pandemic happened. So what is the current situation? Current situation you can find in the on these links that are mentioned here, and on these links you can see some dashboards with current situation all over the world, and you can track the situation. What about the virus? It is really expected that the virus will further spread to other countries, and well, actually, we will have some kind of issue. Regarding the guidelines, regarding the restrictions, please take care about some recommendations for self-isolation and avoidance of contact with other people, like they are always mentioning this social distancing. There is for today, for this webinar, like more than 250 of you tracking, 2,500 of you tracking this webinar. And actually the point here is that I know that lots of you are working at this time from home. I'm also working from home at this time, and I'm just following the recommendations like hashtag stay at home and take care about yourself and do this social distancing. Also think about some border restrictions, think about restrictions of public meetings and events, and also follow the rules that are defined by your company, specific regulations and restrictions. So this is the current situation, and this is the print screen from today. On the previous slide you have the links. On this link you can find these coronavirus global cases by the Center for System Science and Engineering, and here you will see what are the total confirmed, what are the some total recovered people, and it seems that it is not so bad, but actually for some countries like Italy, like Spain, it is really bad. So please take care about yourself, and I will really try together with Simon to explain what are the steps that you can that you already have in your company that is doing the food production, but also some steps I think that it will be for you maybe new that you can implement in next days in your food production and really stop this coronavirus of spreading. So one chart we already put up, and I think that it is Interpols. Are you located in the affected zone? And please answer with yes or no in the polls. So till now we have like 98%, 95.
Yeah, it depends also, Vladimir, I suppose, when we say zone, is it country or is it your city or your town? That's open to interpretation a bit.
Yeah, because IFSQN is all over the countries. Let's say it's country.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't think there'll be many countries not affected.
Yeah. So actually, this is the data. Are you located in an affected zone? Yes, more than 90%. So, yeah, almost all of you that are presented here or that are watching this webinar are in some kind of affected zone, and actually I think that you will have a lots of valuable data on next slides. So actually, what do we know so far? This is something that you are reading every day because some of you are in panic about this, but actually, what do we know so far? Now we know that coronavirus disease or COVID-19 is a respiratory illness that can spread from person to person. Also, the virus that caused COVID-19 is a novel coronavirus that was first identified during an investigation into an outbreak in Wuhan, China. Important for us is the transmission routes. The virus is thought to spread mainly from person to person, so between people who are in close contact with one or another, or within about 6 feet or 2 meters, through respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby, or possibly by inhaled into the lungs. Also, it may be possible that a person can get COVID-19 by touching a surface or object that has the virus on it and then touching their own mouth, nose, or possibly their eyes. But this is not thought to be the main way the virus spreads. Incubation period, till now it is known that incubation period before the first symptoms is from 14 to 28 days. This would mean that you can transfer the virus in this period before you have the symptoms, and this is why we have these issues with transferring or transmission the virus to other people, because sometimes people does not respect this incubation period, they don't stay at home, and we have some issues. All of these things that we know so far are changing from way to way, are changing from country to country, and this is something that is, let's say, general for now. Regarding the symptoms, for example, I heard that only symptoms were fever, cough, and shortness of breath. But then I read that in some cases infected individuals get diarrhea, and that the stool samples have the virus present. So there is possible fecal-oral transmission route in this case. So this is another thing to keep in mind, that virus will infect a person if it comes into contact with nose, eyes, or mouth. And all of these things, let's say, are general, but we need to think about them because we need to know the way of transmission, we need to know the incubation period, and we need to know symptoms. Why do we need to know this, even if they are general or changing? Because according to this, we can adjust practically our preventive programs or preventive steps. So on next slides, I will try to show you some 4 steps of prevention and 1 step of recovery. We define it like this, but actually this is something that we need together to discuss. This is just the knowledge that we collected over the previous, let's say, 3 weeks while this spreading of virus is starting to be more active. So the first step are the procedures regarding employees. We need to think about some procedures, training, cleaning and disinfection, and some protective equipment. So first thing regarding the procedure, as you are working in the food industry, in this food industry, you already have some prerequisite programs, not just depending, do you have some GFSI standard or some other standard, you should have some prerequisite programs implemented, and according to these preventive programs, you should have some procedures for personal hygiene and hygiene behavior. In this case, you just need to have to think about reviewing this procedure to see is this procedure really good in the time when you have this type of virus. Is it good to protect your employees? Is it good to protect your production? Is it good to define some hygienic behavior? So here also you need to think about some additional entrance control to facility for all employees. You need to think about temperature control of employees, health questionnaires that could be filled every day, and health inspections by responsible employees. So what would be this entrance control? One of my clients, he implemented entrance control to facility where the additional employees on the entrance to the yard of the facility is checking with the employees where they in some contact with with the people who already are confirmed on corona, where there's some symptoms and etc. So these are the additional entrance control. Also, some of the clients implemented temperature control for employees, and when they are coming to the work, they use the infrared thermometer and they measure the temperature of the employees before they enter into the facility. And in case that there are some employees who has the temperature, they are saying, okay, this is not good, and you should go home, and you should not work because of the higher temperature. And this is something that's one of the that some of the producers also implemented. Health questionnaires is a good thing. You already have some health questionnaires for the visitors that are coming to your facility, and you can readjust these health questionnaires maybe to have, let's say, 5 questions, and these health questionnaires would be filled by employees every day when they come to work. Why? The reason is that they make sure that they have not been in contact with some people that are coming from affected zones, that they do not have some kind of symptoms, etc. So this is just, let's say, a health questionnaire, but it is also a reminder for employees that in case that something is wrong, they do not enter into the production, they don't come in contact with other employees, and they don't spread the virus. Also, what you can implement is health inspection by responsible employees. Maybe you can, depending on the size of your production, say that there are 2 or even more employees responsible to, let's say, visually check the other employees for any kind of, I don't know, temperature, any kind of sneezing, coughing, etc. And this, in this case, when they notice this, they will inform the manager to this. For these employees, and practically these employees would be removed from the production because there could be a suspicion that they are in this time period of 14 days or let's say 28 days of incubation. Regarding the training, of course, you will have some meeting with your employees. I'm already sure that you had some meetings with employees, talking about what should be done, what is the crisis, and etc. But what I recommend is that you already perform some refreshment training for hygienic behavior, and of course for hand washing. What is needed here to think about is for all new procedures, if you develop some new procedures regarding the hygienic behavior, you need to perform the training for all the employees in the time of crisis. Additionally, here you need to include all employees in facility in these trainings, not just the employees who are working in the production. You need to include all employees, even the employees from headquarters, how they should do the hand washing, how do they respect the rules that new procedures in this crisis situation are saying, and this is it. What is recommended is, according to all the rules, we are doing the hand washing like 20 seconds at the minimum, but here I propose that you do the hand washing more than 20-second rule, let's say 30 or even 40 seconds, and you should put one employee in the entrance before the hand washing is done to check where they're all washing hands properly. And this is something that you can do. The trainings are very important in this case, and also the controls of each step. Regarding cleaning and disinfection, what is a good proposal is to have additional disinfection on entrance to facility. So this would be on the gates. when you are entering into the practically production, and practically you will have your employees coming to the facility. They will go through some disinfection barrier with their shoes, and also you will have some hand disinfection before entering into the facility. After they enter into the facility, you can have additional steps of disinfection before gloves and after the gloves. So in some cases you will have high risk areas in your production, and you will have low risk in your production. In the case that you have high risk and low risk, practically you always define that for a high risk there are use of hygienic gloves. But in this case, proposal is that everyone is using the hygienic gloves in your food production, not just the one who are going in direct contact with the food. And here you could think about the steps of disinfection before gloves. So actually in this case you will have one disinfection before entering into yard of the facility. Then you will have the step of disinfection and washing hands before employee puts the gloves, and after the putting the glove you will have additional disinfection over the gloves. And current data indicates that the virus is destroyed by bleach and hydrogen peroxide, but I think that any other disinfection is really good, but I don't know. We will have to check with, in this case, I propose that you contact your suppliers of cleaning and disinfection agents for recommendation, and I'm sure that they will recommend some of the cleaning agents that you can use. In this case, I put some links down in the on this slide, and on these links you can click. For me, most interesting was the handbook of COVID-19 prevention and treatment. This handbook is practically made for the medical services, but actually there is a lots of interesting things that you can use also in your production. So if you go there, download it, and you will see a lots of interesting things. One of the interesting things for me was this regarding the protective equipment. It is said that masks should be used for all employees if this is possible, also protective gloves on all positions, and regarding the uniforms, they should be washed daily and under control. This should be on a minimum of 90 degrees with a 30-minute minimum washing, and with chlorine-based detergents. So this is said in this handbook of COVID-19 for prevention and treatment. And if you are doing the washing of your uniform for your employees, please check it. Are you doing it in this way, or do you need to change it? Also, if there are some external services that are doing the washing of uniform for you, please check with them. Are they doing it in this way, like 90 degrees Celsius, 30 minutes, and with some detergents that are filled with chlorine or some other disinfection? So these could be the steps and procedures for employees, and this is just the part of it that you can implement it. I hope that you already set up a lots of rules. So just to comment in the chat box, I see that you are already commenting. Are there any procedures you implemented in your production regarding employees? Additional procedures that we did not mention. So please, if you can put it, there is a lot of comments I see, so they are going really fast, and yeah,
it might be a little bit difficult because, but yeah, we'll try and catch one or two of the procedures if you implemented any additional ones regarding employees, other than the ones previously mentioned. Less people in high-risk zone.
Yes, I agree, and we will talk about later with some cross-contamination prevention. Change of the shift now working in 2. Yes, of course, the changing of shifts is a good thing. We are talking here only about the hygiene procedures. We will talk about this cross-contamination later. I include this cross-contamination. Splitting breaks and cancelled all meetings. Yes, Daniel, that's perfect. No intersite visits. Working in smaller shifts. Restrictions of all visitors. Yes, automated hand washing. Okay. Okay, perfect. I see that you already put a lot of things, and I hope that we can later on maybe we can print this or copy this chat from the chat box and send it to the participants, Simon. It would be good because there is a lots of good things here going.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can. Yeah, we will do that, and we'll put a
Yeah,
link
that would be perfect, and then all the participants can go through this, and there is a lots of interesting things. Okay, so I already saw that you are mentioning the visitors, and this second step of prevention is actually procedures for visitors. In this case, I would recommend only one step, and this is stop with the visitors. Yeah, don't include them. You do not want, in this case, the visitors coming to your production, and that's it. But in the case that you will have to have the visitors, I don't know, maybe the inspection regulative, or I don't know, maybe the auditors, you will have to think about the procedure again. So this is to review the existing procedure for visitor hygiene and hygiene behavior. Also here you will have this entrance control to facility. Also you will have the temperature control. For me this could be a good step. You can adjust the health questionnaire that should be filled. And regarding the visitor, in this case, all people that are not working primarily in production area are visitors. So all of these rules should apply even on the employees that are working in your company but are not strictly working in the production facility, but they have some needs. I don't know, maybe some employees from purchasing department or sales department, they have some needs to enter in the production, then they will have to follow the rules for these visitors. Regarding the training, again, for the visitors, training for hygienic behavior, for hand washing, and also according to all new procedure active in the time of crisis, you need to train these visitors before they enter the production, and they have to respect all the rules as your employees, specifically the rules of hand washing, etc. Additional disinfection on entrance to facility is some step to implement, like the disinfection before gloves and after the gloves. And of course, if we talk about protective equipment for these visitors, the masks should be promoted for all the visitors, also the protective gloves, protective clothes for one use. Actually, if we talked about these protective clothes that is for one use, it should be removed after visit directly to waste and not reused. And someone of you asked about this handbook. On each presentation slide you will have the links down, and you can download this handbook. So this is steps for prevention for visitors. And yeah, I see the question that you are saying about the masks. I was thinking about this mask. Someone is promoting this N95 or FFP2, and in this case I'm actually not true, because you need to think about the size of the virus. But in this case, masks are there only to protect that you don't have the droplets. If you do not have the droplets, there is less possibility that these droplets enter in someone's lungs. This is the reason why you should use any kind of masks, and not just these specific ones. You know, these specific ones like N95 or FFP2 are used for the medical persons who are dealing directly with the persons that are already, you know, ill from this virus. So you can use any kind of these masks. So you don't have to have, I don't know, like really some crazy protective expensive masks. Also regarding the gloves, yes, someone mentioned gloves are false security, but I must say that regarding the gloves, you should use them, because in case that you don't, you need to disinfect your hands, you need to protect your hands. Also you need to protect in case that there are some damages of the hands, you know, because of the use of a lots of disinfection, you will have some damages of skin, etc. And practically that would mean that you will need to some kind of protection additionally. So please, I think that you should use also the mask, any kind of mask, also the protective gloves, and in case of protective clothes for visitors, please remove them after visit directly to waste, not reuse it. And for the employees, we already mentioned how the washing should go. In many cases, when you go to the media and propaganda media, you will have these actions and protective equipment that they are mentioning, and these are mainly the protective equipment that should be used by the medical personnel. And it is not specifically designed for the personnel working in the food industry. So you presume that in the food industry and by your employees, they are all healthy, you know, and this is why you only have these smaller measures, let's say, for protection. And in case that you have employees that are not healthy, you're sending them to home. Yeah, so this should be in your, let's say, risk analysis regarding this crisis situation. Okay, in this handbook, what is really interesting was the way how the uniform is set. Maybe you can use it for your employees working in high-risk zones, where you see how the medical personnel is doing this, and you can maybe adjust it and doing it also in your type of production. Okay, so for you the question: do you allow visits to your production at this time? I saw a lot of you mentioning that you are not allowing the visit at this time. What is interesting is someone mentioned these truck drivers, and I would also mention another. So practically, for me, visitor would be anyone who does not work in your production area. So this would mean also a truck drivers. This would mean some external personnel that is working outside on maintenance, etc. So for me, I would stop any visitor going. And I see in the chat box that you are only saying only pest control deliveries. Okay, visitors can be pest control. Yes, I totally agree with you. I wouldn't allow also visitors, and this is something that should last for some time. Even what I was thinking was that when all this crisis is finished, I would suggest to also postpone this visiting for 2 months. So when the crisis is finished, I would say, okay, after the crisis, additional 2 months, I would not allow any visits coming to my production, and this is it. Yeah, I think that you mainly agree with me. Yeah,
several have been watching the chat roll, and many people have put no, but many people have put pest control.
Yeah.
When you say no, would pest control be critical enough to come in or not? Would you say no or yes?
You know what? Mainly, I'm saying for my country and region, mainly pest controllers are also doing the disinfection and also doing the, not just the pest controlling, but mainly they are doing also disinfection, handling with these disinfection agents, etc. And mainly these people are trained specialists. So in this case, I would allow with a special allowing from the company, these pest controllers to come inside the company, you know.
But not just letting them wander on site, have some precautions.
Yeah, of course. Not even outside of the crisis situation. I wouldn't let them wander alone. So they should be with some of employees. They should also undergo this control steps like temperature control, maybe for employees of the pest controller, also to check that they need to fill in this health questionnaire, etc. So yeah, but if it's possible that maybe we do it internally, in some cases it will depend from the situation. For pest control, yeah, okay. Someone is saying no pest control because they visit too many other facilities. I must agree also with Nick Kelly. This is why I wanted that we discuss in the chat about this, So this is something that we need to think about, and you should do the risk analysis, for example. And maybe the best thing would be that you communicate together with this pest control. When you communicate with the pest control, they would say you how they protect their employees or what is the best case and etc. So that's it. So we can continue regarding the fourth step of prevention. This is the third step. This is procedure for sanitation. And in this procedure for sanitation, we can say that, again, you need to review existing procedure for cleaning and disinfection. Also, you need here to think about type of cleaning and intervals used. Maybe you will need more intervals of cleaning now. What are the critical areas now for you to be sanitized, and also the critical surfaces in contact with the product. Earlier maybe we did not fully disinfect some of the surfaces coming in contact with I don't know, packaging material or outside of the production critical area, but in this case we need to disinfect all the surfaces. And of course, what is interesting also is that we need to widen this area. You will see in this cleaning and disinfection that you will need to widen the area for sanitation and do the surrounding of facility. I have seen a lot of companies that started also doing the sanitation of the transport roads and also of the transport vehicle, and this for me is a good thing. In this case, you should also contact suppliers of cleaning and disinfection agents. I think they will have a lot of recommendations regarding the agents that you should use in disinfection. Also, what is mentioned here from one laboratory, I have heard regarding the verification of cleaning. So I tried to find the detailed information about the virus, about, I don't know, the temperature. I understand that I understand also that the temperature that virus cannot live is higher than 90 degrees, but actually it is also higher than 65 degrees. Additionally, what I have found, there are no such data like pH or water activity or humidity, etc. And this is something that really does not allow you to think really clearly about the cleaning methods. But I think that if you contact these providers of cleaning agents, they can give you more inputs. What I heard from one laboratory, and why I'm mentioning here this E. coli, is that regarding the verification process, and they are saying, but this is not confirmed, this is not verified, this is just one laboratory saying that if you are doing the verification, you are taking the swabs maybe, and if you can prove that there is no E. coli on the surfaces, then you can be sure that your cleaning and sanitation process was really totally good. And in this case, you can also say that these surfaces are not anymore, let's say, proper surface for development of viruses. Or staying of viruses. So it will depend, of course, of the laboratory, but in this case, you can contact the laboratory and you can speak with them. Why we are saying the E. coli? Because E. coli could be just, let's say, the pointing bacteria who would show that your surface is clean or not clean. So not enough with enterobacterial surfaces or E. coli, and Of course, we shouldn't have E. coli present anyway, but in this case, if you want to perform the verification of your cleaning, for example, with the external laboratory, when they do the verification, they would say, okay, there is no E. coli, and we can say, okay, in this case, if we do not have it, in this case, we can say that our cleaning was really detailed, and in this case, we can say that these surfaces were not very good for the staying of the virus. Regarding the trainings, in this case, refreshment training for cleaning and disinfection is needed, especially if you develop some new procedures that are active in time of crisis, and this would mean also training of externally engaged services for cleaning. Someone mentioned that Someone mentioned also that in cases of you engage some services for cleaning, they do not enter inside of your production. Yes, that is okay, and you should develop also the programs for these types of visitors. Maybe they can clean something outside, but they don't enter directly into the, let's say, risky areas. Okay. So we spoke about employees, we spoke about visitors. Have you changed your sanitation procedures maybe in previous period? Did you change it? Did you change the intervals or maybe the cleaning agents, or yeah, maybe you can mention what did you change, what type of changes, etc. Yeah, I see that lots of you changed something. Yes. Frequency increased. Okay. Okay. Someone always used the hydrogen peroxide. Okay. Okay, increased percentage of cleaning agent, additional increased frequency. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. So actually, this is something that I expected. I just need you to think about not just the increased frequencies, but also to think about critical surfaces and areas. Maybe you can widen this area, not just on the production process and I don't know, something like these surfaces in contact with product, but also to widen this area in additional contact surfaces in transport vehicles, etc., and to do additional cleaning. Okay. Regarding the fourth step for prevention, we were talking about cross-contamination, and in the chat box I saw that a lot of you already mentioned a lot of additional, let's say, cross-contamination prevention steps. I'm sure that you already have some cross-contamination prevention steps procedure. You need to review this, and this is mainly focused on some microbiological cross-contamination prevention steps. Here you need to think about production layout, of course, about movement of employees, meaning the contact in shifts like sanitation of personal areas before shift starts, but also changes of routes where employees are moving, also changes in shifts or the number of the shifts, etc. So actually you also need to think about movement of packaging materials, also movement of ingredients and waste in this clear, and this is the steps that you should reconsider it again because of the viruses. What I have learned from my industries, for example, there is a lot of returnable packaging. For example, I have one producer who packs or fills drinking water, and they have these big packs of 15 liters barrels that they deliver to different customers, and these bottles are returnable. And in this case of crisis of this coronavirus, they stopped producing or filling these barrels, returnable barrels, because they did not want to lose additional disinfection to these barrels, and they could not, in their risk assessment, they have had always higher risks regarding this returnable packaging. This returnable packaging also exists for white plastic crates, for example, for fresh meat, for example, and who is dealing with the fresh meat should really consider about these plastic crates, how to disinfect them, how to handle with them, what are the movement and prevention of cross-contamination. Also here, what you should think about is in case that you have some primary producers, you will need to think about cross-contamination on fields regarding the, let's say, plastic crates that are used for transferring the fruits or the vegetables, and please, this is something where you will need to train your primary producers on this. Regarding the sanitation, you should also cover the transport vehicles, and internal and external transport vehicles, and do this sanitation. You will think about the frequency, what is needed for you, of course, for cisterns, of course, for vehicles that transport goods under temperature regime. We know that there is a regular cleaning, but maybe you should add some additional step. Of course, regarding the prevention of cross-contamination, we always need to think about the air. When we think about the air, we can always use the UV lamps maybe for disinfection of the air, but when we talk about UV lamps, we must say that they are dealing only with the surfaces where this light can come in contact, but not with the surfaces that are in shadow, let's say in shadow. And we need to also think about adequacy of using these UV lights. But of course, air UV, okay, Angel mentioned it already, air UV, sometimes you can use it for the disinfection of air, and it could be sufficient, yeah? Okay, so this is the fourth step of prevention, and you can use this prevention of cross-contamination. I don't know, did we mention, can you think of some additional steps for prevention of cross-contamination, maybe that we did not mention it or you did not mention it in the chat box? Like, I don't know. Yes, we can use some disinfection of air, of course. We can use some between cleaning. Of course, we can think about cleaning of PVC pellets, swarf mats of use. Yeah, they could be canteen plants. Yes, Laura, I agree with you. Attention also should be to canteens in plants, and maybe you should set up the places of sitting that people are separated by at least 1 meter or 2 meters between each other when they are sitting in the canteen, and this is something to think about. Yeah. I see that all of you already have a lots of interesting things. This is why, due to large number of participants, we are going to or you can post your questions on the forum, and we will send you a lots of inputs. Okay. So this is all the preventive steps. But what about the recovery step? Of course, this situation of crisis will be over. And actually we need to think about these recovery steps. In this case, we need to think about procedure for crisis situation and to review the same. We need to develop some prevention plan, including all internal aspects, to think about employees, to think about sanitation, cross-contamination. These are the plans that are collected in the previous 4 steps of prevention. Regarding the risk analysis, maybe you can use the FMEA, and here you can include in risk analysis all internal and external factors. Like internally, you should think about employees, for example. What will happen if you have a lot of employees that are sick and cannot come to work? Can you operate? Where do you find another employees, etc.? You need to think about the owners, about top management. also about the critical processes. What are the critical processes with which your company cannot produce? You should think about equipment, maybe the maintenance. If you have some external maintenance, what will happen if this maintenance gets sick and they cannot come, etc. Also about some external parameters like suppliers, like government restrictions, also customer demands that could affect you in changes of some kind of specification of product, or changes in types of delivery or production, or maybe some longer financial effects, etc. For example, in some cases, maybe government would ask from you to deliver or stop producing something and to take from you some kind of raw material that is needed to produce more disinfection agents, or these are all the things that you need to think about and that you need to have in your risk analysis. According to this risk analysis, you will develop your business continuity plan, and the same, of course, depends on the situation and depends on the company, the size, the financial aspects, etc. But for me, the best thing is that you think about the plan of this crisis situation, that it lasts for at least 6 to 18 months. And in this case, please, if you don't have a lot of knowledge regarding the business continuity plan, you should contact the experts and get the inputs. Also, I saw that someone already started the discussion on the forum, and here you can also use this place to speak about business continuity plan, and it would be really important for some small enterprises. Yeah, so this is something. Okay, regarding the crisis course, we need to think about this. So for each crisis, you have some 4 phases. The first is potential company crisis. Second is latent company crisis. Then you have some acute or manageable company crisis, and not manageable company crisis. This is a fourth phase. So actually, in all of these steps, you can do some kind of prevention. In these steps, if you implemented all this prevention, you will not come to some phases that are not manageable. But in this case, you will have manageable phases. Let's say third phase, this is manageable company crisis. But if you go to some, maybe some of the financial aspects that are really infecting or affecting your company, then there could be some problems that this is not a manageable company crisis. This is really nicely presented on this slide, where it is said that this is a sudden crisis. You did not expect this crisis with coronavirus, and this means that sudden and total unexpected occurrence, and goes only through latent and acute crisis phase. And during this time, you will see that there is this slow and hidden development, the first sign in the latent crisis phase, and you have this crisis that is going down and down, and you don't have any more issues on your company, but it needs time. And this is why I said you should develop your business continuity plan for some 6 to 18 months, and this is the 6 to 18 months that a lot of experts are proposing this time period, that it will be needed to stop this crisis. What is needed to think about is that we have some beginning, and we have the issue or this downstream, and then we have this turning point. This turning point is really important, and this turning point for you is where you implement these prevention steps, and this turning point is where you implement this risk analysis. And when you implement this risk analysis, the next step is practically that in this turning point you go up, and practically you will save your money, you will save your customers, you will save your market. But this is something that you really need to come up to this turning point, and I'm hoping that with this webinar we started thinking for you regarding this turning point. and this is something that will really help you in the crisis course from the beginning to turning point and till the mere end. What is good to know? When you go to the European Food Safety Authority site, when you go to the CDC or FDA, you will always find the information that there are no evidence that food is a source of transmission route for the virus. And I'm really hoping, I put a link here so you can go there and read it detailedly. And I'm really hoping that this would not change in coming years. In case that it is changed, we need to think about this kill step in the food production. For some of the industries, maybe it would not be possible, but good to know for now is that we do not need, that coronavirus is not the source and transmission route from the food. And one additional thing that is good to know is food safety audits, because lots of you asked questions on forum regarding the food safety audits. We need to also mention this. I'm sure that you're already in contact with your certification bodies and with your auditors, and that you got a lot of information, especially you from BRC, IFS, and FSSC, regarding all of these certification schemes. They set up the rules. GFSI set up one rule, but regarding the IFS, they are saying that actually for now, this is the information for now, IFS said that there will be no possible audits if audit cannot be performed on site. So actually, this is something that IFS is really strict about. Regarding the BRC, FSSC, and other certification schemes like ISO certifications like 9001, 22000, HCCP, it would be possible to perform the remote audit. In this case, there is a small decision tree. Can the audit be carried out on the planned audit site and date and on-site? If yes, you can carry out the audit for the auditor. In case of no, can the audit be postponed? If audit can be postponed, they are saying that maximum time is 6 months from the audit date. So this is actually the time period when you can postpone the audit. You should think about this, because in the case that you postpone the audit, like the surveillance audit, for example, your certificate in many cases will be like stopped. It will exist, but it will be stopped, and you need to consider this with the client. But I think that this will not be a big problem, because in this case, all countries are in the same crisis, so your customer, I think it will understand. In the case that audits cannot be postponed, there is an option that audit can be carried out on the planned dates, but partially on-site or remotely. In case of remotely, you can carry out remotely via, I don't know, someone already mentioned the Skype. You can use some Microsoft Teams. You can use Google Hangouts or all kinds of different platforms. And this is something that you should deal with your auditors. So that's it. Regarding the GFSI, yes, they are saying any remote audits are null and void. Yes, they are saying that, but actually FSSC is a certification scheme that decided that remote audit can happen. BRC also decided that remote audit can happen. But what is here to think about is that only part of the audit can be remotely done, and this is the audit done for the documentation check. But on-site audit also must be done, let's say, in the period of 6 months after the remote audits. So this is something to think about. And regarding the issue of certificate, well, my certification body decided that for now only certificates in PDF will be sent electronically till the office start working, and then they can start printing. Regarding the FSSC 22000, the same can be performed remotely. Part of it, the second part, must be performed on site in the period of 6 months after the the date of this remote audit. Okay, this is regarding the audits. So thank you for listening of the presentation, and of course stay healthy. So yeah,
Okay.
we are here.
Brilliant. Thanks. Thanks very much, Vladimir, for that overview and some consolidation of best practice that many of the attendees obviously will have done some other ones, extra ones, but this is all about sharing together. I don't think we're not going to go through the Q&A because with so many people on, it's very, very difficult. But I mean, all I can say is that, you know, the food industry and everybody online, we're all in the same boat together. We're all here to support each other. And I've got to say, throughout the webinar, there's already been loads of interaction between the attendees, you know, asking questions, answers, picking up, putting links in. And that just shows you the value of this. So they were listening as well, obviously, Vladimir, to your presentation, but the people are supporting each other in the chat bar. And ultimately, the food industry, we will all survive. The food industry will survive and thrive, and we are very creative. And together, we will come out of it stronger. It's not the end of the world. It's a crisis. It's a big crisis. But we can support each other, and that's why we will be doing more webinars throughout on coronavirus. We might have some dedicated Q&A. I'm thinking perhaps if we pick through the chat logs and pick out some repeated questions, maybe we can put some links, like a document together with links, or just simple advice and things like that. Perhaps we could do that. Any comments from you, Vladimir?
Yeah, actually, we will go through this. We will communicate on the forum, and as I proposed to you, maybe next step would be to maybe communicate with other experts and to perform some additional webinars, like update webinar, where we can discuss if there are some changes in the industry and all of these things, you know. So actually, we are all in this here together, and I hope for the best.
Yeah, and also in our small kind of way, I know a lot of people have been sent home from work, but us in the food industry, from the start to the finish, we have a duty to keep supplying, whether it's packaging, ingredients, food processing, whatever it is. We have a duty to feed our nations and to keep going. And I do feel that there's a big sense of responsibility there, and we all feel that, I think, and we're all together on that. So stay safe, everybody. Thanks, Vladimir. Give Vladimir a clap.
Thank you
for that. It's a primer. It's just the start of the discussion, and we'll have more. So I will send you. I'm going to forward you all now to the discussion forum, where you can join if you're not a member. Post your questions, and then all of you, like you've been inputting here, input on the discussion forum. Let's keep the conversation going, and through that conversation, sharing knowledge, best practice, we'll get through it together. Okay?
Stay safe all. Bye-bye.